Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be doing some more Jarl gameplay, but before we get into that, I did want to announce the winner of the giveaway. So the winner of the giveaway is Angelic Beef. I sent you a little message in the comments on YouTube, but you are the winner of the Marble Betsy. If I don't hear back from you in like a week or two, then I will draw another name from the comment section, but I wanted to thank you all for the very nice comments. A lot of them are very good suggestions for the channel and also just like very nice and thoughtful as well. So I very much appreciate every comment. I try to respond to all of them, and yeah, very much appreciate. So thank you all for just being very great in terms of our little YouTube community here. Yep, but with that, let's go ahead and get to the Jarl deck talk. Hey everyone, so this is going to be the Jarl deck list for today. So there are a couple of cards that I want to basically like try out today. There's not really like anything super spicy with this list. It's more so just kind of refining what I already have. I think the most notable inclusion here is like Arcanum Compliance, which I think I was a card. This was a card that I was originally kind of down on in Jarl, specifically because it's very niche. I originally thought that like Verdance could actually like play around this card pretty effectively. If specifically if they're on like Waiting Moon. But with Search and Aethertide, it does kind of like hose that strategy. So I kind of like having the one of compliance in the board. I do think it's very strong against like Kano and stuff. So the blue compliance, I think, is just a reasonable cyber tech at this point. Remains to be seen how much wizard we're going to be seeing, but I do think that there's going to be a fair amount, and I think that this maybe as a one of tech card is probably reasonable. Yeah, but for the remainder of the deck, it's mostly just like tweaks and changes here and there. So I think I went down to like 2 E-Strike just because I think that E-Strike is mostly a card that I want for like the Gravy matchup, but like outside of Gravy, I think this card is like kind of whatever. Just like a 2-card 7 is like fine for this deck, but not really like exactly our core kind of like game plan or strategy. I think it's nice as like a 2 of, but like 3 seems like a little bit clunky, or maybe like there's some like better cards for that. Similarly, we're kind of trimming down to 2 Eisen. This does make our blue base like a little bit worse, but that's fine. And then I think the one card that I want to test probably the most today is Civic Steps. So let me talk about Civic Step for a second. So most Jarl lists I think are on Quick Dodge, which I think is pretty reasonable. Like Quick Dodge, I think is very flexible. You pitch a blue and you basically get 6 block out of it. Very nice. The only problem with Quick Dodge, there are a couple problems with Quick Dodge, but notably in a deck like the kind of style of Jarl that I'm kind of used to, is that we don't have that many blues. Like half of our deck is blues, and sure, on paper that seems like we have a lot of blues in our deck, right? But like this card, like if you let's say you like draw one blue hand, and then you're like, I want to quick dodge this turn for some reason, or like maybe there's a really good opportunity, and then you can't use the blue because the rest of your hand like doesn't work because you drew like all reds. I think there's a lot of downside to quick dodge that maybe isn't discussed as much. Like I think like I don't know, it basically takes away resources from your cards, which like a card like Civic Steps doesn't do. Now Civic Steps also has a very real downside of creating a Quicken token. But the funny thing about Quicken tokens, like if we look in our kind of board here, is that they only work on attack actions or weapon attacks. Notably, specifically in the Gravy matchup, which I guess is like the matchup that most people are thinking about right now. It's very funny actually, because like Gravy doesn't have that great of conversion, but he's also like the most meta warping deck, which is kind of interesting. But like Quicken token doesn't really do very much for Gravy at all. Like the best case scenario for a Quicken token for them is they like have either a CNC that they don't have Gogan on already, or they have a normal CNC like the kind that we're running, like the generic one. And maybe that's like the use case for a Quicken token for them. But like most of their stuff already has Gogan, and this doesn't work on allies, which are I think are both like pretty relevant, at least for the Quicken token. Like a lot of decks, I think, don't use the Quicken token very well. Like I think Syndra doesn't use it particularly well. Like lots of heroes, I think, do not actually use this token very well. So I feel like the Civic Steps actually are kind of reasonable. Like you basically get like a block card that you don't have to pay for. It's basically a similar rate as well to Quick Dodge, where like if like the rate on quick dodge is this, right? Like if you have a blue 3 block in hand, you basically turn that into a blue 6 block. So you're basically netting 3 block. Basically similar math to Civic Steps. And then quick dodge obviously has like the insane high roll potential where you get like 6 chain links or whatever. But like I don't even remember the last time I think I've used quick dodge on 6 different attacks. Like I feel like that scenario is so niche that like it doesn't happen very much. And even then you're only getting like an extra like 3 value or whatever. So we're gonna try 7 steps today. I think it's pretty reasonable, and also more importantly, Keegan is borrowing the quick dodge for tomorrow. So wanted to give the civic steps a shot and see like how bad these actually are into the current meta. And before we get started, I also want to just show off Philip. I know that people have been big stretch, yeah boy. Oh, gross. Gross. Okay. I know people have been requesting a little bit more cat cam, so I've got my emotional support animal here to assist with that. All right. Yeah, but with that, let's go ahead and get into some games. Oh, we get to play against a Verdance here. So I think you generally always want to go first in Verdance, and this will give us a good opportunity to test out our board here. I think their board needs a little bit of work. Like I think we're definitely bringing the compliance and also the sink belows. I think the rest looks pretty solid. Give them good luck, have fun. Could consider running the Blizzard for the blue, but I don't think that's incredibly necessary. I think we're just running it as is, and let's make sure we also grab our AB as well. Definitely want Sludge in this matchup as well. Yeah, that looks good. All right, starting us off. I generally like to try to prioritize filtering in this matchup. Important thing to note is what kind of Verdants they are, so it looks like they're more on the Surgeon Aethertide plan. Definitely pretty solid. I think that the most important thing is to pitch stack Disruption. So I think that getting the Felling in the deck and also some other cards would be good. Let's go ahead and pitch the CNC for later. I think we can also maybe get rid of the Terror Sunder. I think we're actually just playing out Eisen just so we get some more cards in graveyard. We could also just like sandbag it. That is another option. Well, let's activate Heart of Ice and see what they do, maybe. Makes their fruits a little bit more annoying. But it also does give them filtering too, I guess. Let's just pass. I don't really like arsenaling the spelling this early, but maybe it's fine. Like, I imagine we're probably going to get plowed at some point this game. So this matchup is very filtering centric, it feels like. Let's go ahead and just stay at a healthy life total here. Pitching, I think Eisen for later is fine. Definitely going to look for the chance to just play out a Crumble here. All right, it seems like they're coming in for 5. So what's the follow-up to this? Maybe Ring of the Roses would be a pretty good start. I think we can pretty safely just block 6 on this, though, to stay healthy. It's not really a tempo matchup. It's more of a kind of setup-intensive matchup. So Crumble to Eternity. We have a couple options on the target. So we can get rid of Plume. That's one option. The alternate option is we can get rid of the Barkskin charge, which does put us closer to killing them. I think in general, the Plume is probably correct. Just gives them less of an opportunity to get back a rampant growth in the late game. And we also want to try to slow their decompose as much as possible here while we try to find our ways to break the Plume. Notably, we did just block with one of our frozen to deaths, but we do have others in the deck, so it's not a huge issue. And again, we basically want to deny attacking into them as much as possible. Here we also see another pretty important threat in the matchup with CLF. I think CLF is one of the ways that you basically can prevent potions. I think that this is pretty safe to just AB because we also have the Oasis. So if they come in with the arcane damage, we're fine. If they come in with the CNC, we're also kind of fine. So I think that we could actually theoretically let our arsenal die. That's option 1. Option 2 is we just block 7, gain 3, go to our turn, and then just keep passing. Kind of like that. Important thing to note here is that we're also stranding some of their D-reacts. So that means that they're not going, like, if these are drawn into in like second cycle, it can be a little bit of a brick for them. And yeah, we're basically just trying to play passive while we kind of set up our game plan here. Losing the seal off there does hurt, I think, a little bit. But we can definitely survive without CLF. We do also have our first decompose here, which is quite nice. Ooh, so we have a CNC and Pummel that we can pitch stack for late game too. That's pretty cool. So I think we're doing that. Let's go ahead and pitch, I guess, just the Pummel here. If they go for seeds, then that's also fine. If they just gain a little bit of life, I think that's also reasonable. All right, it seems like they're maybe just going to attack in like this. That makes sense. So I think that we can block with our first Oakenold here. We do have a Remembrance in the deck, so there's a very likely chance that we're going to shuffle at some point this game. I think that we probably are just going to do a baby felling and then put the Command and Conquer next to the pummel on the bottom of our deck. I think that's pretty okay. Good pitch stack for late game. And we're also going to be stacking with the blue, which is nice. We actually might as well Heart of Ice just to make it a little bit more annoying. It does show them the pitch stack pummel, which is maybe the one downside to this, but I think that it's worth it if we can strand some D-Reacts out of their hand. Like maybe they have to like pay an extra one here to play a D-React, and I think that's a reasonable exchange. We've also notably slowed their graveyard growth by a fair margin. Like they only have 2 Earth cards in action, so like they're not super close to decomposing. We are seeing some Cadaverous Tillings. It's a very interesting setup from our Verdance here, because they've pitched a lot of reds there. We also need to be a little bit careful about just like giving them complete free reign, because at some point they will get enough potions to like they can basically get us within kill range whenever they want. This is pretty good though. We get to Frozen to Death. We can Arsenal Pulse. Arsenal Pulse is not amazing, especially if they start just slinging more arcane damage. I think it's probably fine here. Let's go ahead and just use the ability here. Frozen. Get rid of their plume nice and early. So we do have that compliance still in the deck. So that is one of our outs in the late game, even if we don't hit the disruption. All right, seems like they're going to plume something back, which is fine. What did they plume back? They plume back. Okay, they got a heartbeat back. That's okay. Just gain a little bit more life is fine. All right, there's the first rampant growth. We'll try to pay attention to that. All right, and then third healing pot is quite scary. So they are basically about as online as they can get. Yeah, we are potentially in a bit of danger here. So we definitely want to save the Winter's Bite for the pitch stack, ideally. I think we're probably just going to Heart of Ice here, if I had to guess, just so that we're taxing the resources a little bit, staying a little bit healthy. And then we'll overpitch, I think, the Oakenold as well. We'll try to put the Oakenold, I think, on the bottom if we can help it. Well, we can obviously help it, but we're going to try to put the Oaken on the bottom so that we can pitch an Earth Ice card next to it. So we'll do Tear first, Winter's Bite, and then the Oaken. All right, we have all 4 of our healing pots out, but we do have a rampant growth and pitch. This is starting to get a bit scary. But yeah, I think we just need to start sending an Oakenold here. It's like a little bit unfortunate, but I think that getting that early damage is important. Them sealing all their potions this early is pretty rough for us, I would say. Definitely not exactly where you want to be. Okay. And they are able to cover with Sync Blow here. A little unfortunate, but not outside of expectations. If we get a little armor out of them here, I think that's worth it. Yeah, but this setup is going to be a bit rough to beat. All right, Pulse in the yard, or Pulse in Arsenal, obviously a little unfortunate. So if we keep this Pulse here, it's not really doing us a ton of favors. Could give them a little armor block, I think is also reasonable. And then we can Remembrance, like pitch the Rootbound for later. Or we can just also Arsenal Rootbound. So if we take 4 here, we get to plow them, which could also hurt the rampant growth. But we'd obviously be taking some damage. I think we'll go ahead and just block with this and let the pulse go, I think, here. Obviously a little bit unfortunate, but I think that it's kind of a trap maybe to hold on to that for that long. Do have to be a little bit careful about our root bounds, but we do get a nice little plow here, which we should Heart of Ice first. Then we can plow. Hopefully, maybe messes with their rampant growth stack, which we know is going to be coming up in roughly 10-ish turns. Good advantage frozen. Now we can remember it's back 2 Okins and a CLF. It's not bad. What if the Okins might be a trap? Or, okay. So, banish. Do the pulse, the fruits, and then a frozen here. All right, close chain, lay out remembrance, which is not an action. So chain close was not necessary there. Let's get a felling, an Oaken, and a CLF. I think that's a reasonable compromise. We'll leave the Oaken and the plow, I think, for later. Also just for fodder. And then we'll arsenal the root bound in case they start trying to go for felling, which they are overdue for one. So okay, so there's the second rampant growth. So now we need to really start paying attention to their pitch stack. Fortunately, this is just baby felling, so we can just send back a big felling of our own. We'd have to do something a little bit funky here. We have to bottom the mangle. I guess we can just root bound for 3. There's also maybe just some merit to just catching in the block value on the gauntlets now, because there's no guarantee that they're going to attack us at any other point in this game. We've seen 2 CNCs used, so it's not super useful there. I think we're just going to root bound this and then discard the fruits. Get a bit of value like that. So we've done a really good job slowing them down, but obviously the rampant growth part is the scariest part, probably. So we need to find a way to basically disrupt that at a later point in the game. Notable thing about the gauntlet block is that we also get some decompose there, which is pretty nice. But yeah, I can't complain about another felling here. Let's go ahead and just do the gauntlets, fruits, and then I guess we can use Plow Under. We can also use the Oaken Old. We don't really have another way to buy back the Oaken Old, so it's probably just the Oaken, so we leave another Earth card there. Then we will have another Decompose set up, which is quite nice. We have gotten their Plume out, which I think is pretty huge, so now they just have to pitch stack, and we know that the bottom of their deck at this point is probably, well, not the bottom, it's probably a Plow Under, so we have 2 Plow Unders there. Okay, what are we doing here? So I think we're just pitching 1 Mangle. Again, we want to keep our life total as high as possible. And I think that the CNC here is fine as disruption. They can't decompose off of it, which is nice. They have to give us like real cards for it. So this should slow them down pretty well. Like they can't root bound Carapaces, which is nice. In general, I think you probably do want to save some amount of CNCs for the late game, which we already did. We did set up a CNC pummel, which is quite good. We also have the Oaken Old. Like, I don't think we're in a terrible... Like, the worst part about this game so far is just the raw number of potions they were able to see. Not much you can do about that, unfortunately, though. Notably about the CNC pummel, I think we did shuffled out, right? So that's fine. You can also just send another CNC here. Not super opposed to that. So we'll take 5 here. And then we just get to send another CNC. I think we're just fine stranding them with reacts if we can help it. Okay, we're getting some more pretty good cards out of them. Just want to slow as much of their damage as possible here. Oh, another felling is pretty good. So I guess we're bottoming a pummel here. Yeah, this is looking a little suspect. All right, we'll bottom the pummel. And then I'm debating whether or not it's actually worth sending our Oaken here. It might not be bad in terms of disrupting them, but like in terms of it's a little difficult, I guess. Like, do we win if we take like 30 and then they just double rampant growth us? So that would be 8 plus 10, so 20, 22. So I think they still need all 3 rampant growths to kill us. So maybe we are supposed to get a little bit aggressive here. Also just block with Autumn's Touch, I think. think I'm just gonna take the sludge play here maybe, and then try to set up for the Oaken and maybe a little half measure here. I don't know if this is correct. I just want to make them playing out their D-Reacts as annoying as possible. And like if they are sitting on D-React, then sending Oaken is not actually all that good. Alright, so we're coming up on, I think we still got roughly like 25 cards before we get to stack. Alright, I think we have to take 5 here, unfortunately. We have 2 Fellings gone, or 3 Fellings gone, which is good. We are going to be taking quite a big chunk of damage here, though. Alright, Sergeant coming in. I think I'm not supposed to take that. Or I guess maybe I am supposed to pay just because they have the ring out. I'm not super happy. I think I probably should have paid for that. I guess we still get the opportunity to do it here. They probably were going to be able to force that in regardless. So I guess we're going to pay now. Still a little awkward. Because now we don't get to E-Strike. But I think we do just need to stay at a somewhat reasonably high life total so that we're not just like dying to something random. And yeah, this board state is pretty bad for us, I would say. We could send another CNC. Could also just pitch stack it for later. I mean, that's actually worth it. I can just send E-Strike. So we definitely need to find our compliance as just a release valve more than anything. Felling is nice. Don't mind that. Still not a way to use this Oakenhold, unfortunately. But we have kept a pretty good job of leaving the threats in the deck. I think that we've got a lot of Winter's Bites left in the deck. We've got some CNC stuff left in the deck. They haven't been sending a lot of arcane damage, so I'm almost kind of incentivized to just pay for this. I feel like we're overdue for a bit of arcane damage. Burn Bear is pretty good. I think we're going to pay 2 here, just so that we hold on to Felling. Unfortunately, they're going to get another ping. Scour is an interesting card in this matchup. I guess maybe just as a blue. That kind of makes sense. All right, Felling number 3. This might be Felling number 4. I know we shuffled back at least one. All right, so we've got, I think, how many cards did they put on the bottom? They put like 7 or 8 cards on the bottom, I think. So that puts us 5 hands from dying, roughly, but they do have to set up as well. So maybe it's closer to like 6 hands from dying. So turn 20 maybe is roughly where we're about to die. Remember, number 2 is pretty good. All right, go ahead and pay. Yeah, the Burn Bears are very, very impressive in this matchup. Just keep decomposing. Hopefully gets us a little bit closer here, but I think we are just in very substantial danger. They do still have some number of reacts, I feel like. Yeah. All right, so we're getting some reacts out here. I was kind of hoping that they would have more of these hands where they just like double react, send Surgeon or whatever, and then we don't really care about that. They have been sitting on this card in Arsenal for a while. So pretty likely to be something here. All right, I think we have to pummel and mangle at them, which I'm not super excited about, but it's probably better than just paying for this ping. So they're still going to be getting quite a bit of value here. But we just do need to make sure that we're sending good disruption at them from this point on. So we said turn 20 is roughly the turn we're going to die. See if that holds true. Might also be turn 19. They do still need the rampant growth kind of to kill us. They need at least one, I think, at this point. We are at 17, so we're not doing incredibly great. All right, we will go for the pummel. Could have double react here. Pretty likely. Oh, it looks like they don't. All right, we get the NC out of them, which is nice, and the last bark skin. So we need to start finding CLF is a pretty good threat. Oasis can maybe wait for next turn. So we could actually pitch the Oasis here. Is that reasonable? It would deny the ring. Okay, a little unfortunate there. That's fine. I don't think we were paying anyways. So we'll take 6 damage roughly in terms of a trade. And then we get to Arsenal CLF, which could be good, could be bad. Yeah, I think we are unfortunately just at a pretty substantial life disadvantage here. I wonder if we're maybe supposed to just block a bit more, but the burn bears just make that so difficult. All right, we do get the Oaken to hit. So hopefully maybe the CLF can save us if we can keep it around for like 1 or 2 turns. All right, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. All right, they're popping some amulets here as well. That is indeed scary. All right, well, we have to pay for the Ridden Sphinx here. I don't think there's really much way around this. So I actually thought they were going to be closer to turn 20 when they were going to kill us, but maybe they can just do it off of double rampant. Assuming that's what this is, very likely to be the case. Yeah, we didn't see our arcane compliance, unfortunately. But we did also shuffle quite a bit. Aim. All right, so here's the first rampant, which will come in for 10. We are at least denying the ring here, which is at least nice. Oh, they're just doing a single rampant growth. Interesting. We will seeds this. So they've used all their potions now. But, so this only comes in for 3. They destructive for 4. They could still kill us from this position, but we did do a pretty good job of blocking at least. Like, they might have overestimated their ability to kill us here. They still have 1 burn bear left, and obviously the 2 rampant growths. But they don't have the pots to set up, and we do have sigils left. We have 1 sigil left, rather. I think we also have a fruit. Okay, I don't think this is actually that bad for us. It's obviously pretty bad, but we do have a little bit of buffer if they can't like push over stuff here. I think they put back a heartbeat at some point also. This might be the top of their stack. So I'm expecting a rampant growth in the next like hand or 2, and then I'm also expecting interesting. So there's the rampant. So actually I think we're off by a turn there. That's fine. So they decomp, they pitch that back. We basically are netting 1 from this turn. That being said, they could potentially go for Storm Striders to kill us, though they don't have Waning Moon. So I think we're going to drop to 2 here, and then just like hold the sigil in response to whatever they do, assuming that they go for Storm Striders. I think we're in a pretty bad spot, but I think it could be worse. All right, they are going to go for it, so if we can punish them here, maybe that is our key to victory. All right, Burn Bear, nothing we can do about that one, unfortunately. Full Sigil, but it seems like they also have the Rampant Growth as well, so I think they got us pretty good there. Yeah, unfortunate. I think they set up their potions just super early on us, and then we kind of were under the weight of that. The Burn Bears are also very impressive in this matchup, I think, and also, like, let's take a look at, I guess, what threats they had left in deck. So we saw that Rampant. We knew that they were drawing into Rampant after the Rampant. So they did pop their potion. Like, they probably could have had infinite time here if they wanted to. Like, hmm. I wonder if we had to play a little bit more slower and just try to strand them with as many D reacts in their pitch stack as possible, so that that maybe is like our key to victory while we try to find our arcane compliance. Notably, the arcane compliance didn't really do much or like it wouldn't have really done that much that game. Like they basically just killed us with the front end of the staff, and then like would this card have actually done anything? Kind of doubtful. Yeah, I don't know. This matchup still seems hard. Like, especially if they get their potions that early and like you're not able to really line up to your disruption. Like we had a couple pieces of disruption, but nothing really like crazy coming up. Like we had the winter's bites, which are obviously good at stripping their hand, but like they can still probably kill us through. Like I don't know, this matchup just seems very very difficult. Yeah, I don't know. Like you can win this matchup, and like I think the way you win is like maybe getting them to go try to like third cycle you, and that's good. But like if they just set up a bunch of potions and get ring out on you like super early, it feels like very very hard to kind of come back from that. Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can get another playing against Gravid Bones. Let's try to pull up our Gravy sideboard. I think I do like running sigils in this matchup just to add a little bit of buffer. Yeah, I think this for the most part looks good. All right, we are running Civic Steps in this matchup, which are nice. I think it's pretty reasonable to start with the fruits here. We can get a little bit of filtering as well. Sitting on felling this early is a bit awkward. They were fine to send Fist at them because they don't really have like a way to like punish us for like if they block. I don't think we really care about that. Like if they block 4 on our Titan Fist or whatever. Notably, we are pitching a Frozen to death if we do that, which maybe we actually want to hold on to. What if we're supposed to Arsenal the Frozen, IP with felling so we can block with it? That could also be fine. Sitting on Frozen in Arsenal gets a little bit weird some games, I feel like. Like, especially if we draw a hand like this, which does not do very much. Oh yeah, I wanted to also mention that I'm gonna try to bring back the swear jar for this video. Probably put it like right here, but I'm gonna do it in editing, and I'm gonna try to like point out my misplays and then add to the counter here. We can also do like if you see a misplay in the comments that I missed, let me know and we can increment the jar. I think I'm actually gonna do the jar just for Jarl, or any deck that I like play like semi seriously. Okay, Dink in the yard is obviously bad. We do have the opportunity to filter here. Mangle notably doesn't do it, or the Unforgiving notably doesn't do anything. So we do have to find an answer to the Dink, like soon. Assuming that they just slam it here, which they're likely to do. The nice part is they won't be getting any value off of it immediately because they won't be able to attack, but still a very scary proposition that they're asking. Hopefully they don't have the resources to cast it. If they do, we're probably in danger. It is risky to slam Dink on turn 1, especially not attacking with it, but it does prevent me from getting the opportunity to set up and get a felling, which is pretty good. All right, discard the red sloop. Interesting. So they're definitely not going to be able to attack with it this turn, but they can just slam it and play it out. It looks like that's what they're trying to go for. Assuming they bricked off the sloop, like they're maybe trying to draw blue to cast it or whatever. But yeah, it seems like they're maybe going to go for it here. Oh, actually, we're going to opt for the Conqueror instead. Interesting. Kind of think we're actually just supposed to block out into this. Maybe try to cycle. I guess we're not even going to be cycling, right? We're just going to be blocking with felling. I think we're just blocking with full hand on here, honestly. Trying to find our better cards, trying to find an answer to Dink, and then Just trying to find Crumble also. We do say they're on Lead the Charge, so it makes pulling up the compass a little bit less painful. Yeah, I wonder if maybe so they had red blue. Maybe they have another red that they arsenaled, and that would make sense why they didn't play the Dink. All right, we do have one of the I guess we have two of the answers to Dink now, which is very comforting. We do also have Remembrance, which could be good. Targets would be Felling, Frozen, and maybe like one of these two, whichever one we play. So if we can like hold a 3-card hand here, I think we're in pretty good shape. We would be shuffling our deck, which means that the likelihood of us seeing a crumble might go a bit down, given that we pitched a couple cards, I think, already. All right, the Murderous Rebel, Sawbones off the top. I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and just take this. If they play out a Dink, I still think they can't attack with it unless they have like Give No Quarter 3 blues. Seems somewhat unlikely. They do have a Sawbones on top, but they don't have any gold to filter towards it. Okay, we're slamming the Dink. I feel like oftentimes, like, there are some hands I have where I'm just not able to answer a Dink, and that gets kind of scary. But fortunately, this is one of the hands that answers Dink quite well. So we'll go ahead and just buff it. That's why the E-Strikes are in the deck, to be honest. Just very solid in terms of clearing Dink and also just getting go again. And like a lot of the time, you don't really have to blow up Compass in this matchup, depending how it goes. Like if they get greedy and they just slam a Dink and then you can answer it, it gets pretty rough for them. All right, let's go back and buy back the Felling, the Strike, and the Frozen. Notably, this does set us back in terms of Decompose, but it does also put some pretty important threats. I think slowing us down is not the end of the world, and we do have Midas Touch here. So let's actually talk about like why I still run Midas Touch. Number one is for Prism. Just being able to kill a Angel is nice, especially if there's like an ALS on the board. But it's also, again, obviously for Gravy. The best use case for Mice Touch into Gravy is that you want to ideally be able to Mice Touch a cheap ally, like one that's not going to give them a lot of gold, and then you follow up with Hammer. It's basically like one for 3 go again, if you kind of think about it. But you obviously have a little bit more flexibility in terms of like if you need to kill Whaler Humperdinck in the late game, that's also an option. Activating a Compass, sure. Can't activate it for too long, assuming that we find a crumble this game. This is also the risk of sitting unfrozen. I'm not always the biggest fan of doing that. So this is actually probably case scenario. They have not played a blue. So we could actually just block with the Oaken and the Mice Touch and just send CNC to be a little bit disruptive towards them. Stalagmite actually might be better option than using the Gauntlet. Hold on, sorry. Yeah, we'll use the Stalagmite instead of the Gauntlet here, just to give them a Frostbite in case it makes it a little bit harder, maybe to play a blue and then play out like Sawbones or whatever. So I think ideally, in an ideal world, I just want to slam CNC at them. And this is kind of like the downside of holding back allies into Jarl, is that you give me the space to hit you with Disruption. Yeah, the red sloops are pretty, I don't know. They feel a little bit underwhelming into Jarl, but I do understand like why they're in the deck. It's probably just for other gravies. Like it's definitely a good card. Like a 6 for 2 go again is pretty good rate. All right, you get 2 pretty good cards out of them. Avasti is functionally a 0 for 6 in this matchup. To chart the high seas, obviously, kind of like Codex of Frailty if you don't think about it very well, but like the value on this card is very insane sometimes. All right, we found our Crumble, which is obviously nice. If this was a blue, we could actually, or no, yeah, we could actually theoretically blow up their Compass in 1 turn. We could go for that. They've used 2 of their Conquerors. They've used 2 of their conquerors, so we could imposing pitch the crumble, get a crumble. So if we rip a blue, we can kill their compass in 1 turn, but we also don't need to do that necessarily. We could just play it a little bit slow, like block a bit, and then just blow up their compass on the next turn. There are a couple options here. Notably, they haven't played a blue yet, so they can't swabby us. That's why I was maybe holding back blocks a little bit in case they have like another follow-up attack. So if they attack, I'm thinking about using Crown. Assuming like I'm holding back blocks for CNC mostly. Not the boat CNC, but the generic version of it. Looks like they maybe are on Rainbow Tipple as well. So if they discard a blue here and they have a blue in hand, they can play out Swabby. If they don't do that, then also we can just like Imposing Visage, kill whatever ally they play out Sigil. This hand's pretty flexible. Right, they do have the blue for it, which is good. They made a gold this turn. They have made a gold. So they will get free hook activation if they want it. Oh, looks like they're just going to use their resources to develop out 2 allies. I feel like that's sometimes a trap in this matchup, like playing out 2 allies, because I do have a couple sources to go again. But it's kind of annoying here, like a little bit. It depends, I guess, very heavily on like what their next draw is. But this is obviously a very premium setup for us. So we get to target the compass. Notably, it's turn 5. So I think that maybe about average in terms of like when you get to see your crumble. We are running basically 6 copies of crumble in the deck between the Imposing Visages and the crumbles themselves. And this Frozen Arsenal might pay off. It does mean we need to draw an ice card next turn, and we also need to have a blue in hand. So it might not happen right away. We could filter this hand to try to draw into some card that pitch. We do have Tunic up, so if we draw into like one of our yellow Plowlanders, that's also a fine result. We have seen 2 of our Conquerors used. So the Crown does have diminishing returns after a while. All right, Chart the ICs. This card's really good when it's good, but when it's not good, like discarding a red, obviously a little bit unfortunate. Having the last loop out of the way is pretty nice for us though, because it means that we don't have to like worry about a 2 for 6 with go again. It's one of the ways that they can kind of extend their turn, which is why I think a lot of them are on it. All right, looks like we're playing out a Sawbones from hand. Or no, was that from the yard? What? Wait, how did they get the action point for that? Maybe that was from the yard and I just wasn't paying attention. For some reason, I thought they didn't have any allies in the mid, but that could also not be the case. All right, coming in for 7, we have the Loot the Hold on the back end of this. So our armor does give us some nice breakpoints here if we want to try to fish for a blue. So they were maybe blocking the Mangle here and then crowning away this Felling for later. And if we fail to get the blue, that's also fine. We can just like E-strike into Titan's Fist, no matter what our draw is here. All right, unfortunately we don't get the frozen to death, but that's fine. We do just get to double ally clear, which is also acceptable. And they don't have Gogan off this, which is also quite nice. We did use Crown, which is a pretty premium resource in terms of denying the Conqueror, but I think that was worth potentially going for if we can just slow them down. All right, the Crumble will pop, and then we'll E-strike at Swabby. We do have to be a bit careful about these Sawbones, because if we E-strike that Sawbones first and then it died, could they actually? So if like the death trigger is on the stack, is there a window after they damage the ally where they can do the prevention? There might not be. Like if the ally takes 5, can they prevent after the 5 to obviously like make it a little bit more annoying to kill Swabby? Like I don't think that's the case, at least based on the Talchar like timing windows that I'm seeing, but Talchar is not always correct. I'm wondering if that's more of a play that I have to worry about ever. All right, so we do now have the ability to frozen. So we've cleaned the allies out pretty well. They're probably going to have another ally here, but that's fine. Our life total still staying relatively high. All right, Limpet, definitely one of the more annoying allies. We're not going to block here. We're going to wait for the hook activation, though. Have I not been paying attention, or have they not been using a ton of hook? That could be the case. Maybe it could also very well be that I'm not paying attention, but I feel like I've not seen the hook activated a ton. There might not have been like a good opportunity, but they have played like 4 tipples. So let's pay attention here and see if they activate it. It is hard to remember. For what it's worth, it is a very difficult card to remember. I have done my fair share of forgetting my hook triggers when I'm playing Marlin. So they do have a Dink. But if they hardcast the Dink, obviously we can like kill it basically immediately. Can they attack with it here? If they have 2 blues, I think they can attack. But then we just felling and we're fine. Oh, it would be a baby felling though. Oh, the Dink actually might be a problem. Yes, the Dink might be a problem. Okay. So now we do need to figure out how we're going to deal with that. The answer could honestly be we're just supposed to plow. All right, so they are using their hook here. Yeah, this is pretty good. So we have a couple options here. So option 1 is we option 1 is we can't decompose, or no, we can decompose. So we could block with the Autumn's Touch, pitch the crumble, plow under ourselves, which is obviously not great. And then we have to this gets so awkward. Maybe we're supposed to just give up on the felling and the plow, though. Give up on the felling and the plow, let them have a little bit of gold, and then frozen at the compass, and then just hope that they're not able to go wide from there. Leaving the Dink obviously is terrible, but we do have other answers to deal with that, and we do have a pretty decent life buffer. So I think we're actually supposed to do this. Like, I think that if we plow under our frozen and we then have to like hold on to the felling next turn, that's so many things that have to like line up for that to work. I think unfortunately here we do just need a frozen. I think we definitely did have an opportunity to do it earlier in the game if we tried to like hold on to more cards against them and then maybe play the frozen out on that one hand where we had like 2 reds and a CLF. So that could definitely be the difference breaker. All right, so no way to kill the Dink. Obviously not great. So how many answers do we have for Dink left? We have E-Strike left. We have Rootbound into Felling is an answer. We do also have the answer of them just not drawing enough blues to swing with it. Like, they're pitching a yellow here. And also a pretty good yellow, so maybe we're actually supposed to use the Stalagmite to buy a bit of breathing room here. Think this makes sense? Like, if this Frostbite is the difference between them sending the Dink and them not sending the Dink, I think that it's worth maybe trying to go for that there. We do still have a little bit of time if we just like block out a bit. But obviously not a great spot to be in. Oh, hello, cat. Hey, buddy. What are we doing? You coming to say hi? All right, Major Master Boots. So it seems like they maybe want to play out an ally here. So they have one balloon pitch, but are they able to really capitalize on the gravy? Attack the chair. Come on, it's fine, buddy. All right, this is the cat cam y'all requested. Him being violent towards my chair. All right, Lip Pit being played. Obviously quite good. So my guess is that, well, they clearly don't have the resources to all right. So they clearly don't have the resources to swing at the whaler here, which means that we're probably just going to have to spend our turn killing the limpets or probably actually the sawbones more so than anything. So let's go ahead and just block a little bit here. They do not have the mana to cast or to attack with the whaler on board. They could use a gold if they wanted to fish for blue, but that does get risky because they do have some number of yellows in the deck. Also could use Gravy to do the same. But Gravy notably doesn't net resources, so they still need to pop a gold here if they want to do anything. All right, threads. Okay. Yeah, seems like they maybe want to play an ally out there. All right, death threads to 2. And the sawbones. All right, so we still have a bit of time to kill the dink. Not much, but they didn't attack with it this turn, which is pretty good. I feel like that frostbite might have actually made the difference. They obviously were able to play out like 2 allies, which is good, but we did get the Mage Master boots out of them. So it wasn't without any cost. So now here we're going to be able to sigil plus Everbloom and put back one of our cards. We still also have our Scars in the deck, which are pretty good in this matchup, assuming you can find them, obviously. Oh, we could also put back one of their cards, which is kind of funny. But I don't think that's super necessary once the compass is gone. I feel like the answer here is maybe just putting back the Felling, hoping that we draw into one of our decomposed cards, and then Sawbones obviously has to die. Leaving Limpet, obviously not great, but kind of a cost we probably have to pay at this point. The one like upside of Dink is that it is very resource intensive. So they do have to like give us a bunch, and we finally found our answer for Dink, which is nice. We actually have like the full kind of answer to Dink if we really want to take it. We can Scar for a Scar into on a Limpet into Oakenold the Dink. Obviously very dependent on what they're able to play out here. Okay, Anka's not that bad. So I think my guess for this turn is we're going to be taking so this is 13 in total on board. Taking out 3, so 16 in total damage. We block 3 on that. We take 13, and then we Scar Oakenold. All right, obviously that plan's going to go a little bit out the window, but not even that badly. Because now we can just give armor and then Scar down the Dink. We don't... Okay, so actually, here's some real talk. We don't really care about our arsenal, right? So maybe the better play is actually just to Scar, Limpet, Oakenold, the Dink, and then Arsenal the Bloom here, and just take 8 off of this Conqueror, because like Crumble is not doing us any favors, and like we also get some Decompose fodder. Like we don't really need to be protecting our Arsenal here. Like it's not doing anything for us, and I'd rather just have the tempo to clear their board. They are going to get a gold out of it, which is like the one upside for them, but like we're not really losing much, I'd say. And they're also not swinging with their Dink, which is also, I think, a pretty big deal. All right, so the threads are coming out. And then what is the follow-up play here? Maybe gold. Also maybe like Limpet into something. All right, seems like most likely gold. They could chart from Arsenal and then swing Dink. But even then, that is very reliant on a little bit of RNG. They are going through their deck pretty fast here, though. I think they presented a clean 60 into us. So we are fat decking a little bit, so we definitely have the deck advantage. As long as we can keep the board clear from here, I think we're actually in pretty okay shape. It's looking a little dicey when they slammed the dink and we couldn't answer it, but like now that we do have the answer, I feel a bit more confident. All right, just playing out the rigor from graveyard. Fine by me. So we'll start with the Scar. Now, what's the priority between rigor and limpets? Obviously, we're going to be killing the whaler regardless. I think they're very close in terms of damage, and I think a lot of it depends on how many Avastis we've seen. Since we've only seen one Avasti, I feel like the better priority is actually rigor. Because the limpet does represent like 2 damage every turn, but the rigor mortis could represent a potentially much bigger swing. And it does also require them to like play out allies and stuff, so I think this is a little bit more reasonable. So we shouldn't be worried about any more arsenal disruption at this point, so we'll go ahead and just kill the dink. They do, I think, have one more dink left in terms of threats, so we need to kind of hold out a bit for that. And then Everbloom Life is like a fine arsenal. Like worst case scenario, if they do end up running CNCs, which I don't think we've seen any of yet, which I whoops, oh sorry. Yeah, we haven't seen any CNCs yet from them. Arsenal the Everbloom's obviously fine. Obviously we kind of showed it to them because we're playing a Talishar, but that's okay. Sometimes it'd be like that. But yeah, I think it's fine to Arsenal Everbloom just because we can also play it as the instant sweep mode in case they do end up seeing us. Or if they do end up seeing us, like we're also just probably fine giving 6 block and saving it for later. Maybe when we line it up with the sigil. We have seen 2 sigils though. All right, Chum, definitely one of the more important allies. Fortunately, we do have some answers here. I feel like maybe given this hand, we don't actually want to be blocking very much. Like maybe we're supposed to just CNC the Anka, Everbloom Life before that, obviously, and then like Arsenal and Mangle. What do they have in terms of allies left? They have a Limpet in the bin. I think they have 2 Ankas and a Chum and a Rigor Mortis. So it's going to be a pretty big burden to try to play all those out. We haven't seen any Tip the Barkeeps, and they've also not played out a ton of their Sea Legs yet. So their Gold Kiss Rum resource is not super helpful for them. All right, Lead the Charge is definitely one of the ways that they can get around the compass, though. Maybe they're running this in place of the Gold Kiss Rum, which I think is reasonable. So it seems like maybe they're just going to go Limpet into Anka. So this is fine. So we actually don't need to hold back many cards here. We can just like block with the CNC, Arsenal, the Mangle, in case they end up playing out Chum. We could also actually just block with the Mangle and Arsenal CNC. Whoops. All right, let's block with 1 Mangle here, I think. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's 2 damage either way, assuming that they swing with Anka as well. Or Anka, however you want to pronounce it. I feel like it's Anka. Yeah, it's got to be Anka, right? All right, playing out a Rigor instead of doing anything also, I think it's fine with me. All right, so we can actually gain a little bit of life buffer, but I think it's better to just maybe pitch the CNC for later. So the question is, which allies are we going to be leaving alive? We can actually Everbloom a Limpet away. That's kind of hilarious, actually. I think I'm going to do that. I feel like originally this card was not programmed to target your opponent's graveyard, but maybe it always has been. But I feel like I've just now noticed that you can like do that, which is pretty powerful. So we can either hold back the CNC for the Chum, which we know about, or we can wait for the Dink number 3 and Arsenal the Mangle. I think there are pros and cons. I think that now that they have 2 allies out, like there's maybe not a point in clearing both of them. Obviously, they could have like double Avasti into something, but I think this is maybe acceptable. Let's hold on the Mangle just to be safe. In case they do want to slam a dink, I want to ideally have an answer for it. Also, we've not decomposed at all this game, which is kind of weird. I feel like at this point in the game, I would expect to normally have a bit of decompose. We'll save the mangle as the dink answer in case they have it. Obviously, we would need a turn or two for them to set that up, but like they could theoretically rip it off like a chart the high seas or something else. You also have like Scar for Scar into Mangle at like a chum. The only downside is we have to use Tunic counter. But the Civic Steps have actually done a ton of work in this matchup, I feel like. Being able to block 2 on whatever we block 2 on is probably better because we didn't have to pay for it and we didn't have to use our Tunic counter. Could be the case that we got a Tunic counter back by the time we would have used it, but like I think that I don't know. In this match in particular, I feel like I want Civic Steps just so that I have the basically free 2-block temper. Alright, going for a loot. So we do need to block something. Just hope they don't have like go again. If they do, then it gets a bit weird. Oh, but we do have our first decompose, which is also quite nice. So it seems like they're maybe stuck on action points here, which is something I will definitely try to capitalize on. Go ahead and decompose. There's no real benefit to doing 3 earth cards, so we'll just do 2 here. There is like in previous deck lists, there is somewhat of a reason why you'd want to do a 3rd decompose in case you have So tomorrow, but currently not running So in this list just because I think it's a little clunky. Like I think So is more so an answer for new in terms of like our earth blues. But now you kind of just like I feel like you can just run Autumn's Touch without having to worry about that cursed matchup. It wasn't even that bad of a matchup, if I'm being honest. It was playable. But definitely like felt bad when they like play out some of your blues. Like I think Winter's Bite was also like kind of annoying blue that they could play out, and then you can be stuck with a bunch of reds in hand. Like there are definitely some gross blues they can still play out, even if you're building your blue base around it. All right, so what do we have in terms of our graveyard? Do we even have anything left? I know I put back the Limpet. They have a Swabby left. All right, so we have Swabby, we have Chum. Chum, we have the answer for. I feel like we have not seen a ton of Chums. So I feel like I'm expecting 2 Chums. Okay, so we have 2 Ankas, 1 Chum, and a Swabby. Okay, so we still got quite a few allies we still need to work through, but they do have the burden of trying to play them out with their action points and stuff like that. So it might not be in that bad a spot. All right, so we see our first tip of Barkeep, so this is going to let them basically have a free compass use. Right, and we have lead the charge. So they might be able to play out 2 allies here. So this is going to be probably one of their last few big turns of the game, depending on how their deck is built. So they lead the charge playing out the Anka. And then they presumably Gold Kiss Rum afterwards? Or maybe not. Maybe they're just going to take a setup turn. Oh, they're going to play out another Anka. Okay, I got confused there. I thought they were attacking with the one they played out previously. I'm kind of fine with this, though. Like, not getting to decompose is a little unfortunate, but we can also just, like, IP with that. We also don't need to decompose. We can also just, like, Eisen, triple pitch. I think keeping one of the D-Reacts is probably fine. Like, maybe we hold on to Sync, actually, as our best one. And we'll get a little bit of value off of our Eisen here. Mainly just Frostbite value, but also get 1 ping here. They can Gravy if they want to avoid the 1 damage, but I don't see why they would care when they're at 40. We'll hold on to the Sync Blow just in case we need to fix a hand for some reason. And this hand's fine, I think. All right, I think we're in a pretty comfortable spot here. It's been a couple turns since we've really taken any substantial damage. Looks like we are on Rainbow Tipple as well, or bordering on Rainbow Tipple, so they have one yellow probably left and one blue as well. All right, there's the tip the bar keeps. So that's going to let them go a bit wider, but they notably can only use one of these per turn, which I think is probably part of the why this taps your hero, is so that you can't do it multiple times. This card's really powerful though. Like being able to put this on a CNC is probably one of my favorite interactions with it. Like if you go like CNC and Marlin into something something, like it's pretty powerful. Alright, so you're using their first Skullcus Rum to play out Chum. We do still have the answer for Chum, which we astutely held on to. Still worried about one potential Dink floating around, but I don't know if we've seen that. There's a Vasti, also quite powerful. So they're gonna do go again, go again. They're still not sent threatening a ton of like real damage. Might as well just give them the Quicken token here, just deny a little bit of gold. I think we could probably afford to filter towards something better. I think Sigil might be better. Don't have any disruption we really need to worry about. I guess we have loot the holds. That could be annoying. I don't know how many of those they've used. Loots. Two loots, so I guess there was another loot, but we still had quite a bit of block for that. Let's go ahead and pitch, I guess, our Terra Sunder in front of it. We don't need to kill Chum right away if we don't want to, but it's probably wise to just get it out of the way now so that we can start looking for another arsenal target. They want Chum in response to the Tunic, that's also fine. We'll see if this Quicken token ends up punishing us, but I don't think it's very likely. Just because of the way Quicken is worded, it doesn't work on allies. Alright, pretty good hand. Plow Under will let us clear Chums, which I don't think we've seen a ton of. I feel like we've maybe seen one Chum in pitch or something. Yeah, I feel like I'm still waiting on two Chums. Alright, they're gonna Gravy. This gets us even closer to Fatigue, which we are very, very close to. Surprisingly, only a 13 turn game, but like they're basically out of deck at this point. Alright, discarding Rabble, we're kind of okay with that. Maybe they didn't have a way to put a blue in the pitch, but that seems like a weird discard to me, assuming that they have some number of allies still left in the deck. Or even Sea Legs. So why not discard the Sea Legs and then just like keep the Rebel? Maybe they're like worried that they're gonna like run out of threats or something. It seems like a little bit of weird. Like maybe they just want to like get as many cards out of me as possible, but I'm still like just winning on deck. Like they need to find a way to like kill me, I guess. So maybe that makes sense, just to like push as much damage as possible. Okay, I guess it does like punish me for the Quicken, but I feel like I'm kind of fine with that. Huh. All right, I guess maybe the punish for Quicken is just Sea Legs, but I think that giving them go again on a 3 for 6 is like really not the end of the world for us. All right, there's Zavasti. So they're probably gonna swing with Anka, maybe play out a Swabby on the back end. I think that's acceptable. We actually just seeds this if we really want to. It's probably the cleanest breakpoint. And then we can just Arsenal Plow in case they chum. Like, It seems like very likely that they're only on a 2 whaler plan, which I think you do need 3 whalers into this matchup, especially if your first two don't line up very well, which I think in their case, I don't think they were amazing. All right, go ahead and just hammer down the Swabby. We'll hold on to the plow for later. And we'll finally get to 4 decompose, which is also kind of hilarious. But yeah, I think this game is pretty much over, barring some weird miracle. I don't think there's a set of cards that they can play that gets them out of the game, or like that saves them from this position, right? They have no gold. They have 1 gold kiss rum. They don't have a diamond amulet played out. It seems like they're very low on allies as well. But yeah, it seems like they're out of allies even. Like they didn't have an ally in hand. But have we? I feel like we have not seen a ton of chumps. Did they cut chum in this matchup? Huh. Chum is like one of the better allies in this matchup, so I don't think it makes a ton of sense to cut down on it. Yeah, this is a very interesting configuration. Like they're running the 9 temple plan, which is fine. Elite charge is obviously good as well. But like where are the extra allies? I could be misremembering, and maybe they did play out chum and we answered it and then that was fine, but I feel like they only played out like 1 chum. Right, there's the limpet, which we tucked, which we can easily deal with as well. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure where the other allies are. This could just be a missed sideboard on their part. Like maybe they clicked the wrong sideboard and boarded them out somehow. Entirely possible. I think giving them a gold here is like fine if we can just like double clear. I guess we're not even gonna need to double clear, so I guess we might as well just like buck with strike. Yeah, this is very strange to me. I believe from this position that they just don't have the cards necessary. We can tuck the limpet, which is maybe BM at this point, but it is kind of funny. It's kind of a funny use case for Everbloom. Just being able to tuck a limpet. So they did, okay, let's take a look at like what they had left. So they did have a chum left. So maybe they didn't board. Okay, so I wish one of the things I guess Talford Dev who watches, I kind of wish that after the game you could see what allies are like left for them, because I feel like they maybe were only running 2 chum, and then I guess they did have the rear mortis and the limpet, but 3 allies still not enough to clear kill the Anka. They do have, what do they have left even? This Anka was watery grave, right? So I don't think that they had that, like that was going to the graveyard basically. So yeah, very interesting. Like I kind of wish that we were able to see like what exactly their configuration was, but like that's kind of like the broad strokes of the matchup. Like I feel like that was not a Jarl or a Gravy high roll. That was more so we just did our game plan of trying to blow up the compass as fast as possible. They did get a pretty early dink, which is how they kind of converted a lot of our HP. Like they basically got 20 life out of us, but they only swung with it like once, maybe twice. I'm not entirely sure. Like we were basically able to weather the storm of them playing out the whaler, and then we also just managed to like kill the compass and then just whittle them down from there. Yeah, that's typically how the gravy matchup goes in my opinion. Like I feel like this configuration of the deck does feel quite favored into gravy. Maybe not like overwhelmingly, like they can still roll you and stuff, but like you do have a lot of agency in terms of like killing their stuff with the scars and like other cards. So yeah, I feel pretty confident in this matchup still. Like I think that there are some Gravid players who can obviously like stop Jarl pretty bad, but like I do feel like I at least have play into them, even if it's not like amazing. All right, I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for today. So thank y'all for watching. We played into Verdance and Gravy, and the Verdance game I feel like did not go particularly well. Like I don't know, Arcane Compliance is a bit of a mystery to me. Like, it felt like it really wouldn't have helped in that matchup, right? Like, we kind of almost needed more Oasis just to deal with like the life gain that the raw damage they deal off Burn Bear. Like Burn Bear is just such a powerhouse card in that matchup that like we kind of just weren't able to line up our Oasis with that, and that I feel like caused a lot of our kind of downfall in that game. I feel like they also got the potion eye roll, which does happen some percentage of games, and like that's fine. But it felt like I don't know, maybe there's more we could have done in that game. Definitely feels like a pretty overwhelming position though once Verdance like gets turned online and then she starts like pinging you. So I feel like there were maybe some lines we could have taken differently, like a little bit like less aggressive with our sledge play. Like I think there was one or two turns where I sledged and then didn't like I sent just like whatever damage at them, and then they converted a lot higher damage at me, and maybe I was just supposed to block out and try to slow them down. I don't know. I feel like there's definitely some opportunity for improvement into Verdance, but I have not gotten it. It's hard to practice that matchup just because a lot of people don't play Verdance, and I feel like maybe her percentage like win rate has been going down since like the U.S. Nationals. I don't really know. I haven't seen a ton of Verdance play lately. All right, but I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for today. So thank y'all for watching. I think I was going to try to do the misplay jar for this video, but I might not have been like thinking about it super critically. So if you saw any like egregious misplays, feel free to let me know, and I can try to start the jar up for the next time we play Jarl. I think I'm just gonna do it for Jarl, maybe not Marlin, just because it gets like a little bit time consuming to maintain the jar. But yeah, I think we'll basically call him Jarl, right? Like Jarl. And maybe Jarl will be the hero we use the misplay jar for. All right, well, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.